Hey guys, I just wanted to reach out to you and let you know that Surewinder is still selling amazing products. Some of you guys have been dragging your feet for whatever reason. If your shoulder hurts, do not waste time. Pull the trigger. I just bought 4 or 5 of them, and we had 2 guys out. You know how much it cost me to pay for 2 guys being out with bad shoulders? We just pulled the trigger and we said, listen, everybody's going to have one on a truck. It's mandatory. You got to use it. Don't hesitate. Don't wait till your guys go down. It's going to cost you more. Buy a Surewinder. It's not every day someone invents something that changes the game. I found out about this product that I'm talking to you about, and I had to try it. So I ordered a few, and after using it, I'm sold. Now we stock them on our trucks. It's called All Brace, and it will help you sell more service and buy you time until doors come in. There's never been a greater time for a product like this. Phil has video on his website of him cutting a door literally in half, installing the All Brace, and running it like nothing ever happened. It is literally incredible. One of the greatest selling videos I've ever seen. You're going to want to check it out at all-brace.com.
What's up, Door Nation? This is Ryan with Torsion Talk. I'm your host. And man, it feels like it's been a minute since we recorded, because Tamara like jam-packed like 50 episodes in a week, and then we haven't had to record for a while. But we are, I might be a little rusty. It's definitely been a couple weeks, and I haven't done one through Zoom in a long time.
Yeah,
So
they were in person.
I told her I like doing them in phases like that where we knock out a bunch because I get in the groove. But now it's the first one back. So with that logic, this one would probably suck. But we have an excellent guest today who's going to raise the bar and help me out. If you guys haven't been following along online, this dude is quickly becoming one of my favorite people. We have so much in common. We subscribe to a lot of the same philosophies when it comes to like sales and marketing. And I just really respect this guy. One thing that I'm super passionate about is like a marketing philosophy. And it's there's a book. What was the name of the book again? Oh my God, how did I forget that? Story Brand by Donald Miller. So Story Brand is like one of the most revolutionary marketing messaging books I think I've ever read. Like, totally love it. And so this guy we got on with us today subscribes to that same philosophy and just rolled out like new messaging on his website, and it's awesome. Like, I'm mad respect from me as a marketer for someone who does this for a living. I was impressed. So we got Matt. How do you pronounce your last name, Matt?
Kuehlhorn.
Kuehlhorn?
Kuehlhorn works. I add a little Q on the top, so Kuehlhorn.
Kuehlhorn. And then we have Tamara. Everybody knows Tamara.
Yes.
She's
Hello.
my favorite. I know, I'm just here for the good looks. Tamara's really the one everybody's here for. So, right? The looks.
Yeah.
I got a face for radio.
You're the face. You're the face of the company for sure.
They said I have a face for radio.
You do not.
But radio is now on Zoom. So that's a compliment.
Oh,
It
yeah.
maybe wasn't when they said it, but now it is.
Right.
All right, Matt, tell us a little bit about you, your company. Don't get into the videos yet, because like I want to hold that, because that's like, I think we need to spend some time there. So tell me a little bit about how you got into the business.
Yep.
When did Kohler, you changed the domain, right? Kohler Garage Doors now.
I did. Yep.
When did Kohler Garage Doors start, and how you got in the business? Go ahead.
You got it. So May of 2015 is when I started Kooler. I was telling Tamara in the break here that this logo came off of Fiverr for $5.
Wow.
The name was actually off the back which is now hanging the back of my Gentleman Beer League hockey jersey. I had no plans to get into the trade, and I started as a house painter. I did have some garage door installation in my background. So as I got a little bit of traction, we're talking a little bit of traction in house painting, I went after garage doors because it's such a beautiful niche. And long story short, within the 7 years, we are full focus on garage doors. So at this point, we're going through a rebrand, and that's why I changed the URL, updated the website. And we're just very, very clear and focused in on garage doors. You mentioned marketing and complimented me, and I really appreciate that. It's really humbling and flattering. And before I did garage doors, I was in drug prevention. And that's where the marketing comes from, really on a foundational
Like just
level.
say no.
Well, a little bit more updated. I used to run our county's drug prevention project, and so much of drug prevention, a lot of people don't know, is social messaging, social marketing.
Yeah.
So it's learning the channels, learning how to message in a way that can shift norms and get into people's brains.
Yeah.
And it really gave me a foundation of how to communicate a message through channels that work. So in our rural community, I really knew which vehicles were going to get a message across and
Right.
run in full force. Then,
Super cool.
yeah.
So, you, because you have the painting background, it sounds like you also have like some finishing background, like detail, which led you maybe to getting into the overlay business.
So just to clarify, when I started painting, I had almost zero, like it was not a logical decision to go become a painter. It was, I'm in the back corner, I've got little kids, I got to put food on the table. Buddy kicked me $20 an hour to come roll out his house. When I contracted my first house, I hired a subcontractor because I bought myself a paint sprayer. I'd never used a paint sprayer. I hired a contractor to come in. I put him in a t-shirt. So I was already buying t-shirts and had him, I was like, yeah, just go ahead. I want you to prime this wall. So I'm watching him on how to use the pump. He teaches me how to use this thing, right? He's there for 2 days. I'm like, okay, I think I got it. So I stuck my neck out there. As far as the overlays go, the custom piece, when I had worked for a company in the mid 2000s, they did a lot of overlays. So I installed a lot of the overlays. I knew that was a big piece of our market, being in the mountains, and a lot of our HOAs require wood facing on garage doors. So it was a no-brainer that I was going to figure it out. I had enough information to be dangerous. And over the years, just through the painful experiences of some failures and some wins, kind of figuring out and R&Ding a process to get them really tight. Way too soon, I tried to delegate that process. Like the first few garages I overlaid were in my little tiny garage, which is an 1800 wood cabin. And very similar, the first one I did, I met a friend who was a skilled woodworker, and we did an overlay in his garage. So I learned a lot of the technique from him, and then just constant never-ending improvement and some big failures in there. And ultimately we've got it to a place where it's really certain. I've since learned who I need to hire. So we've got a great craftsman doing our overlays these days, and just taking the innovation step by step as we go. So come a long ways.
Well, I'm going to invite myself out to your place.
Do it.
Oh, is that appropriate?
Yeah.
Typical.
Typical, but inappropriate. So we need to pick a day where I can come spend a day with you. I would love to see your operation, learn about the doors that you're making, because not only are they gorgeous, but what I find very interesting is like, I think your mindset's very similar to mine. I didn't come from the blue collar. I don't know how much you follow the podcast, but my background is sales and marketing. I came from software. So we started in the same year, by the way, 2015. I launched in August. So you got a couple months head start on me. And I really didn't know how big of a challenge it was trying to run a service company, because it's like, you know, I think I like running a marketing agency is like almost juggling a ball, but it's super simple in my opinion. Maybe it's just because that's what I'm naturally good at. Running a service company is kind of like trying to juggle with both hands tied behind your back.
Mm.
Um, it's very different. You got multiple balls in the air at the same time. Like it can be a lot more challenging, right? And then the good news is we start all over on the first of the month and got to go after it again. So,
Mhm.
so there's a lot of complications and challenges, but one thing I think we have in common is we both love quality, and quality is important to us. What we install in people's homes is important to us. And for the longest time, you know, I think it was probably 2 years ago, it popped in my head, why don't I make garage doors? Like, I think I can do a good job at it. And we're buying these overlay doors from local distributors and they're charging astronomical amounts of money for them, right? And it's literally a flush panel door with some boards on the front, right? If you
Yep,
take
yep,
the
yep.
material cost and then maybe the labor cost to make it, they're making a hefty profit on it. And it makes it very difficult to compete with companies who do their own overlays. And overlays are very popular here in the Atlanta market, whether it's just like a, you know, um, a lot of the new construction here, they'll do like these Windsor doors with overlays on them. Um, and those definitely help me. I can contribute a large portion of my revenue to those doors breaking a lot. So, you know, as a service guy, you go out in the field and you see all these doors breaking. You're like, oh, I can fix that. You know, or we need to replace it. You start thinking that's out of the rent, like nobody's doing it right, you know? And then you get to the point where you're like, man, I bet I could do that though. So the mindset like evolved. And so when I see you doing these videos, which we're going to talk about here in just a second, um, I'm so infatuated with them. Like I literally sit there and watch the whole thing. You know, and I loved how well you played it off where you're like an employee like walked into the room and you're like, oh, I'm just shooting a video talking about how good these are. And he's like, oh, okay. And you're like, see ya. And it's like, and then you just get right back to it. I'm like, dude, this guy's a natural. He's so good at this. He's like made for it. Um, but I've seen multiple versions of that, almost that same video where you did one that was outside, and then you did one that was like in your shop, but it's a video of you taking different material adhesives, applying the overlay to a sample or whatever, and then trying to pry it off and beat it off and like trying to see which one holds up the best. So what gave you that idea? And have you just gotten like a ton of people reach out to you because of that video? Does that help with your website or SEO or anything?
No, I don't know if it helps with SEO website. I've had a few people reach out, and I'm an open, transparent book, right? Like in our industry, you may have seen this. Some people hold information really, really close. And I just like to flip it. I also think that there's some really cool aspects on customizing doors and overlaying. And there's a lot of people that maybe were in my shoes 5, 6 years ago trying to figure stuff out and just underbuilding these doors or having massive failures. And that doesn't serve anybody. With regards to like glues and R&Ding, I love that stuff. Like it's a little myth buster kind of component, right? And trying to break stuff. And recently the one that I just did was really because of supply chain. And you know, we love the Loctite PL3X. It is one of the best adhesives for metal, and then it really bonds to wood, but we had a hard time getting it. So we went back to another glue that we've used in the past that some other guys around here use, and just noticed how it wasn't setting up as well. And then I reached out to 3M. I was down at Vertical Track in November and I saw their metal overlays and I was like, oh, this is, my market would eat this up. But Luke wouldn't tell me what adhesive he used. So I had to go to work on trying to navigate. And now we have one. I'll do a video on some tests with that too, because it's just awesome and fun.
Just talking about
but
the
ultimately,
the rustic look.
yeah, like we do metal overlays similar, but we've never wrapped them like he wraps his.
Yeah, I saw that.
And we always had fasteners because we never had the right adhesive. And so now we're done with fasteners. We get these slick looking metal overlays. I'm like, oh, this is good. My market's going to eat it up. And because of the price of lumber, like metal overlays, they look really sharp. They're slick and they can be a little less cost than some of the wood overlays these days.
Yeah.
So all those things. And where was I going? Oh, I reached out to 3M. So they sent an industrial adhesive. And my carpenter was like, I don't know about this because it's recommending you don't touch it. You don't want to get it on your skin. You don't want to breathe it. I'm like, all right, well, just go ahead. Let's R&D
Like we
this,
may
right?
die in 6 months putting these together, but they're going to look real good and last a long time.
That's right. Like the doors will last longer than the humans.
Right.
So that's why I was like, okay, we're going to R&D the industrial level adhesive, our normal adhesive that we're now starting to get back into a supply mode because it was really hard to find. And then this other more common adhesive, and that's what you saw in that video is me trying to beat them, trying to do a shear test and then a pull off test. And we really want to get a door that lasts a lifetime, regardless of whether or not that homeowner treats their wood or not.
Yeah.
That's the game for
That's
us.
hard though, right? I mean,
There's a lot of variables.
yeah. And you're in a like extreme temperature area. You're in Colorado, right?
Extreme. Yeah, extreme.
And so my biggest concern when I started in the business, I mean, I'm not by no means a genius, especially when it comes to like building material, but I'm sitting here thinking, you know, in Atlanta, we can have a 34-degree morning and a 68-degree afternoon. And you're talking like metal and wood, like expand and contract at different temperatures, right? And when I first got into the business, I'm like, oh, dude, all these overlay doors everybody's putting up, they're just going to fall apart in years, right? And some of them have. Like you pull into some neighborhoods and there's like boards falling off, they're curling. You know, like, yeah. I'm like, yes, because I'm a service company. I don't want to do new construction. This is great for me. Like, fall off. I don't care.
Yeah.
But then I bought into the overlay because I think they're beautiful. Like, I love the depth in the 3-dimensional look on them. And so when taking all that into consideration, I started doing some research and, you know, they can be done right. I just don't think they're done right a lot. And so like, I know a local company here, they like heat the glue to like 6,000 degrees. That I'm probably just like overboarding it, but they have like this machine that heats the glue to like a certain degree. And then, you know, they lay it on and then they screw from the back. You know, you got all this stuff, but long story short, like I just feel like, have you not had a problem with the temperatures with your wood and steel bringing separation or curling, or I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, when we do it right, we have not had problems. I have had some great failures. I've redone these things in people's driveways, and that's painful, possible, but painful. So yeah, when we do it right, and it does come down to adhesive for us, we're always using a steel back, a fully insulated sandwich steel door. So we're not going to add fasteners from the back. I really try to keep all of our fasteners as much as possible hidden. So if anything, we're using, you know, finished brads in these spaces and then hiding as much as we can in a shiplap or tongue and groove. And it comes down to the adhesive. So as long as we're using the adhesive, the right adhesive with the right amount, which is copious, we're good. we could have a really solid piece, even if those woods are not maintained. Now, we have a service agreement that is available if they want us to come out and clear coat every year. Like, I highly, highly recommend keeping woods treated. That'll prevent some of the cupping, splitting, that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, especially with woods, I can't guarantee that those woods aren't going to split, cup, or whatever. But what I can guarantee is that our workmanship's solid and that thing's not going to delaminate for years.
Yeah.
And I put a lifetime sticker on it.
That's crazy. So what I love about that is you're not afraid to fail,
True.
Mhm.
because you're
True.
like, we're going to build this and stick it on somebody's house. I think that's awesome. All right. So, and I don't want to get into the overlay because that's not what this is about. But I just find it very unique, and I love how you test things and do the R&D and you video it, and then you're like so cool in the video. Like, I just feel like you're made for TV. I don't know, makes you have your own show.
That's encouraging. I'll keep it going.
Yeah. So, what, like, I think the whole season's about company culture. And I feel like you're probably very good at that, like creating a culture or trying to maintain it. Tell us a little bit about your culture there at Kooler, and what it took to establish that.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many nuances. I think culture for me at the end of the day is really how we treat and communicate with one another.
Mhm.
And I lead with a lot of transparency, as much humility as I can, while also maintaining a game level competition.
Yeah.
So in our shop, we've got skee-ball and ping pong, and I try to win every time I play. Like,
Of course.
why
You
wouldn't
take
I?
kids, dude. We play basketball in the driveway, and I'll like slap the ball all the way
Yeah.
to the neighbor's yard. My kid's 8, he's not even 4 foot yet. And I'm like, what, punk? Yeah. And he's like, Dad, I don't even want to play anymore. I'm like, then get in the house. It's funny. Anyway.
Right,
I'm a little
exactly. And so last year, the beginning of 2021, I made a very intentional point to invest in culture. So I brought in
What
a
motivated
local.
that?
I think culture trumps strategy. I think culture eats strategy for breakfast. I think that if you have the right culture, everything else is easier.
Yeah.
And I just put my money where my mouth was, and I was like, yeah, we're gonna put time in this. And I brought in an experiential facilitator to bring us through. He's got a do-be model, and he taught us this model where it's about interacting and doing and encouraging every human on our team to stretch outside of their comfort zone. So we're definitely in a growing mode, in a growing industry, in a growing area. And so I wanted to continue encouraging the growth, the learning, the failure, to strive for excellence and to disregard perfection. So when we brought this guy, he was on for at least 6 months. What that did was really aligned our language. So we had a lot of similar vocabulary on how to deal with communicating with each other, with the team. And what that did was opened up the opportunity to go into really establishing manuals, solid standard policies, tracking results, kind of outlining what the game was for each role. And that's kind of where we're at today.
That's interesting, because you and I are almost on the exact same path, like timing and everything. So what I found was, bad employees don't like established systems and processes, and good employees do. And when we started establishing set systems and processes, we started losing bad employees. And then when we would interview good employees that we really wanted, and we would tell them about the SOPs and walk them through the clean, organized warehouse. It impressed them so much they were excited about it and wanted to be part, which I think is really cool. But you had said something earlier that, Tamara, you could probably attest to this. Like, I am so transparent, it's probably overboard. But I was mentored by a transparent leader, and I love that. You know, we talked to our team about revenue numbers, profit, my salespeople have logins to see all my pricing of all my doors, and they know how to build a quote based on margin. They handle the process from A to Z. And, we talk about, a lot of things that, the business is dealing with or struggling with or whatever, because it's not a me problem, it's a us problem. Like, we got to fix it together. And so if they don't know about it, then they can't. And there's pros and cons to that, right? Like, when you are starting to become very profitable and you're having that conversation with your team, it's not uncommon for people to be like, well, if you're making that much money, you could pay me more, right? And then they come to you about stuff like that. So in your eyes, like, when you say transparency, give me some examples of things that you do as a leader that you feel is transparent that might be a little bit different than other people.
I mean, kind of similar to what I just heard you explain. Like, I'm very open with our book, and it's kind of twofold. Like, I'm not afraid if somebody was to take some of this knowledge and jump ship, even if they were to be a direct competitor, because I'm already miles ahead and I'm going to keep going. Like,
execution's different than knowledge.
It is. I mean, over the years, there's so many different individuals that are now doing their own thing, and I'm one of their biggest cheerleaders. And if they've gleaned any kind of knowledge from working with me and Kooler, I feel great about that. Because at the end of the day, like, my way background, I'm really an educator. I'm a guide, I'm a facilitator. And so I share numbers. We have monthly owners meetings. It's not required, but anybody can come. I'll share the balance sheet, share the P&L. We'll talk about where we're going and how it's looking. We'll talk about pricing all the time. And on the flip, like, we're getting dialed enough to where everybody has a scorecard. Like, what'd you score today? And I'm starting to get answers. Like, it's still this process because it's kind of new in this foundational shift that we're going through. But I want it to go both ways, right? And, some of that transparency is in just sharing how I'm feeling. Like, look, I got to tell you that I'm really anxious right now because we're not meeting our numbers. Like, this is where it's coming from. Why?
That's awesome.
And just lay it on the table. And really, it is an us game. Our team has gotten really tight. I think early on, I've had a lot of different transitions, which can just create anxiety and uncertainty amongst the team. And I've worked on myself to get to the level of leadership where I can then take us to the next level. And it's just really settled a lot of that transition, which increases certainty, increases commitment, increases that willingness to be like, okay, I'm going to stretch a little bit farther, get out of my comfort zone because I know that Kooler's here, Matt's got me. Let's see what we can really do.
Tamara,
Yeah.
he sounds like a way better version of me, right? More mature, more articulate, like, but we're very similar, right?
You are very, very similar. Yeah, I could totally, completely, for sure.
You guys have an award at your place that you give out to inspire culture?
No, but I do challenge people to contribute every day to a positive environment. Like, we just had a meeting this morning where that was like what I did. I'm involved enough to know that we have quite a few employees that are having some personal things going on that's really challenging. And it's very hard to perform at a high level when your home life is, you're having a hard time. So this morning I was like, hey, if you guys have something going on in your personal life that's challenging, raise your hand. Guess what? Everybody, right? And then I was like, please be transparent. Like, you're not going to hurt my feelings. I just want to know, by show of hands, who enjoys coming to work every day. And everybody raised their hands. And there might have been one or two who lied, but it's okay. They probably just didn't want to be the outliers, right? But I genuinely believe that like most, if not all of the people enjoy coming to work every day. And so I said, I think we can take it to another level. Like I've been a part of some pretty special cultures and we have a long way to go, but we have a really good culture here. And so what I was thinking is, I told him, I said, look, you can ride the bus or you can drive the bus, but ultimately what I want everyone to do on their way to work is to think about how they can positively impact a peer or even a leader here. If you see one of us going through a hard time or just whatever, it's body language, it's smiles, it's, hey, how are you? It's, just the little things can add up. And then also you can do big things too. But ultimately, like if you're looking for something easy, just come in and smile and say hey to everyone. You know what I'm saying? Give hugs, high fives. Like the energy alone can help boost people up. And if you got multiple people that do that, if you're in an ill mood and you come in here, you got 5 people come up and give you a high five, it's kind of hard to be like, like you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. And then what's going to happen? I'm going to be like, hey, Tamara, come here. Is everything okay? Like, I saw that you were kind of like half-fiving and everybody else was high-fiving, and it's just like, I just want to check on you. Are you good? And like if you come from a place of sincerity and transparency and empathy, then that works really well. But I don't do awards. So tell me how you do awards.
Yeah, so I do have something to share, but a couple of things just to piggyback on that, in the name of transparency, there's
consistency in everything, including price, reliability, quality, not just quality, but great quality control. These are things that describe Somer USA. Somer's not some startup company, not one that you need to be worried about going out of business in the near future. Somer and their family of businesses are $200 million companies. They're in over 100 countries, and they have locations in 20 countries. This is a large organization who stands behind their product and works through integrity. And there's not another company out there willing to drop what they're doing and help you out like Somer. These guys are awesome. Not only have they been loyal to the Torch and Talk podcast, they've been loyal to the technicians and the owners of the companies who install their product. In my opinion, if you're not at least offering Somer as an additional option, you're cheating yourself. Listen, first-time dealers, I've got a special for you. If you buy 10 or more Somers between now and the end of season 6, while supplies last, we will offer you free shipping. You have no more excuses. The prices are great. The product is amazing. Go check out Somer USA and order 10 for free shipping. I'm going to tell you guys a marketing secret. You want to gain more social media likes, shares, and follows? People love unique and cool projects. There are no better photos to share than the ones on Schweiss Doors social accounts. These guys post some incredible things. Make sure to go there and like and share their Facebook and Instagram post with your business account. So if you like their business account, you can share their post. The bifold doors are awesome, and they're doing some great projects that will go viral on social media if you share them. Go right now to Schweiss Door on Facebook and check out some of the projects they share and like their page. Oh, and don't forget, no one builds a better bifold than Schweiss.
There's 2 big pieces that I am stretching myself in that's going to continue impacting the culture. One of them is obviously for you and for myself as well, like I'm here to go to work for my team. My team goes on the front lines and works for the customer, but I'm here to work for my team. So I'm going to be checking in. I want to make sure that they know I've got their back. There's a big piece for me that, how do I give more compliments and create this culture of finding the good? Because it's so easy for me, especially to get into, okay, that's good, but let's do like almost negate some of the hard work. And I've caught myself, I've been called out, because now I'm starting to get really real-time feedback from my team. And they'll be
You
like,
can
hey,
feel
man,
critical
yeah,
to them.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
nothing they do is good enough, but you're like, hey, I'm proud of you. That's good. But if you did it like this, it'd be even
right,
better, right?
right. So that's art, right? Like, how do I give these like attaboys and attagirls and this is solid and we're rocking and just like let that land and then come in at some other point and be like, here's another way to either earn more, add more value or whatever, right?
That's really good.
Yeah.
Because
So
I
I
do
just
the
want
same
to,
thing. I'm the same way. Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
I think we might have been separated at birth, but you have better hair.
So this thing, you're welcome. I think Greg also built one of these for his team, but this I call the Tenaz Award. So TENAZ is the Spanish translation for tenacity. And the way this works is we award this every quarter, and it's a team vote. So the team votes, they nominate, whoever gets the most nomination gets the Tenaz Award for that quarter.
Unfortunately, we have to take the drum off because drums are in shortage. So we got to use it for a job. So now you just have like a quarter of a spring and a tube. And oh, by the way, we might need that cone too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you get big enough, maybe it's not as needed. But there is, we can add a little beer can in there or a seltzer for non-drinkers. And
That's
in
awesome.
our realm, we'll have a quarterly little celebration. We'll get this awarded. Whoever wins it takes whatever's in here. It's usually kind of stale and old, and they've got to slam it. Like that's the name. Not to encourage, like drinking
You
is
do
not a
that in
huge
like
part of our culture.
Monday morning meeting or something?
Usually in the afternoon. And
Okay, good.
but that's just one way. So, when I brought that forward, I wanted to encourage this value of tenacity. And, even where we're at today, there's more hard stuff coming. And we're seeing this really wonky environment. And who knows how it's going to play out over these next years. I'm not guessing the supply chain is going to get super great anytime this year. And like, there's going to be weirdness for a while. And so this value of tenacity is an important aspect of Kooler. It's how I started Kooler, how I grew Kooler, how I went through just weird cash flow crunches as I'm building this from the bootstraps kind of deal. And it's so key that I really wanted to find a vehicle to encourage it. And so I created that Tenaz Award. And, now we've got it, it's symbolized in this bull, and we've got Tenaz on our shoulders of uniforms and just keep it present.
Yeah, that's cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, when can I come out? No, I'm just kidding.
You're welcome anytime. But I
You
will
just
tell you,
joined
Ryan.
GDU, right?
What's that?
Did you just join GDU? You just
Yeah,
joined
he's in. Mhm.
Yep.
like a week or two ago?
Last week was his first meeting. Yeah.
What'd you think?
I think it was good. I got some value out of that first conversation.
Good.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where these can go. And I love it's so valuable just to have good people that are playing good level games to be able to interact and just raise up my own game with everybody else.
Yeah, I love the fact that it keeps you plugged in with a bunch of like super positive guys who are dealing with all the same thing I am,
100%.
So I think that's awesome.
I was going to say, just on the fact of you coming out here, Ryan, absolutely do it. Just know that we're removed a bit from any massive hub. So you'll want to spend more than a day
like a
out
donkey ride.
You want like a week, not quite a donkey ride. I can get you one if you want, but
Well, I may take you up on that. There's a couple people I need to visit. So Barefoot is a client of ours.
yeah,
Caleb's awesome. So
yeah, he
I'll
is rad.
probably go visit him. How far
He's
away is
about
he?
he's about 4 or 5 hours from me.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
And he's out in the
yeah,
middle of nowhere, I heard.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so where are you to like fly into the main city, which is what?
Denver.
Denver. Yep.
Denver.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're 3.5 hours southwest of Denver.
Okay.
Aleb
So
is another 4 hours southwest of us.
who is Caleb?
Aleb.
Dang, he
Blackfoot.
really is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So I've been to
His town's a little bit bigger. You probably could fly in there pretty easy into
Okay.
Durango.
Yeah, Durango. Mhm.
So you got Denver, you've got what's the big town right below them? Something Springs,
Colorado Springs.
Colorado, yeah,
Colorado Springs. How far are you from
Yeah.
Colorado Springs?
about the same. I mean, Denver, Colorado Springs are within an hour and a half. It's pretty much north south, and then we're over west 3.5
Okay.
hours drive.
And it's like we don't need donkeys, but I'm the way you said it, I feel like I envision like dangerous cliffs and
No donkeys, but maybe 4-wheel drive.
right, right. I gotta have like this dude pick me up on the side of the river and like
No.
it's not like that.
Not quite like that. Depends on the season. You can meet some gnarly weather over our passes if you're driving from Denver. You can fly into Gunnison. We've got a decent airport. It's tiny, but it's a long strip. So we'll have military air testing going on occasionally just because it's super high altitude and long
You
enough for these
could
bigger planes.
accidentally get shot down if you come that way, but it's a lot quicker.
Worth it.
I was gonna go listen. I hope this doesn't get back to him. I love Matt Weber. You know Matt Weber?
I don't know if I do. The name's familiar though.
Matt is with Alpha and he's in Montana, Billings.
Mhm.
And I was like so gung ho. I'm like, bro, I'm coming to hang out with you. And like we picked dates and everything. And I went online to book the flight, and there's like no direct flights. And there's like it was miserable. Like you got to go here and you got to go here. And there's one thing about me that you have to understand. I'm a little bougie with certain things. Don't laugh, Tamara. I will cancel a funeral if I have to take a connecting flight. Absolutely freaking hate it. So I told him, I'm like, bro, there's no like direct flights to Billing. And he's like, yeah, you just have to take like this one airline. And I'm like, ooh, I don't really fly anything but Delta. And he's like, are you serious? I'm like, you know what? Let me get back to you. I think something just came up.
Oh, mercy.
So I never went. But I do know there's direct flights to Boulder. I mean, not Boulder, but Denver. So I've flown into Denver quite a few times.
Yeah.
I've been to Colorado Springs. I've been to Boulder. So
Estes Park is so beautiful.
yeah. So yeah, I actually went there. It was like right when my last time I was there, they had just approved dispensaries in downtown Denver, I think. And they had just installed a few. I got there right then, like right after that happened. That was probably like what, 8 years ago?
Well, that likely would have been 2012. And that's
About 8 years
exactly
ago.
when I got my director of substance abuse prevention project in our county, was right when we legalized.
That's funny.
It's
So yeah,
interesting
I
for
mean, I
sure.
think that yeah, I'll definitely come.
Good.
Montana, I love the idea. I just don't do connecting flights.
Oh, mercy.
I can't. I don't like being in a car longer than like 4 hours. So
You're gonna have a hard time getting into gunny, but I think you can make it.
yeah.
Yeah.
If nothing else, we can find like a helicopter ride.
There you go.
That would be
Always got to
cool.
be
Up in the-
like some
I'll pick you up in the
element of-
Kooler
Dramatic.
helicopter.
yeah, something
That would be
dramatic.
cool. You do deserve a private helicopter, and then you can just come pick us up right outside the airport.
Right. That's right.
See, we always, where there's a will, there's a way.
That's
Yep,
right. Make
yep.
it happen.
So we said that one and just say no today. So I'm throwing out some like old school things.
Yep. Our little 90s slogans.
Yep. All right. So what are some things that you do like on a daily basis or weekly basis or monthly basis other than the award? And so what are you basing that on real quick before we move on? Like the award, you said the guys vote. So what are you asking them to base that on?
It's really based around tenacity. I'm like, look, we're voting. You're going to nominate. I want you to, select somebody that aligns with our values. Our values is the acronym of service, and somebody that has either made a great mistake and accepted, adopted, learned, and grown from it. Stretch themselves one way or another, or just put down the extra elbow grease and kind of stood out for that tenacity.
I love it.
And then from there, it's just wing it.
Yeah. It's kind of what we're all doing anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what can you take from like your marketing background that's really helped you here with this, the door company?
Oh man. That's a really good question. There's certainly a power to a brand, and no matter what the communication is, I think the brand is the communicator.
Mhm.
And to be able to tie those two together just adds more power. And there's a piece in there where if you have the brand locked and you know what you want to communicate, then you have to find the right vehicle to communicate it. The brand is going to direct and instruct a little bit of what vehicle that is, along with who you're targeting. And it all comes down to clarity and focus. When I was working in drug prevention, and we're talking drug prevention, so a lot of it was aimed at youth and parents, right? Just trying to prolong the consumption so that a youth brain could develop. And we would create brands. We had a Just Say No, but it was KNOW. And it was a brand, right? So we created this artwork, imagery, symbolism, and we created this brand and then a messaging with it, because from my perspective, I was definitely on the let's talk about this and get out of the 90s, like scare tactic kind of deal. And so I just wanted to have communication going about. And so it allowed me to test vehicles in our community, which was knowledge that I kept for talking about garage doors. So I knew which paper or which social media channel or which whatever it might be, billboard hang spot, or could be so many different things. But at the end of the day, it's getting really clear on the brand, what you're communicating to whom, and finding those channels to be able to point so it's a little rifle shot instead of a shotgun blast.
Nice. How did you get turned on to Donald Miller? The author?
Somebody posted the book recommendation somewhere. And I
know I've
really
shared it before, but not a lot of people know about it, like in the garage door industry.
Yeah, so I read his book, and it was just a light bulb. I was like, oh,
It just makes so
this
much
is
sense.
this is a story. All I'm doing is sharing a story. And well, if they come to my website, what's the story I can communicate? And again, it comes down to focus, right? It's not about like, here's everything Kooler can do. It's like, here's the story of what you're coming here for, and just putting myself into their shoes. If I'm looking for a garage door company, I'm looking for somebody that can fix my door, replace my door, And then we can get into some of the nuances of everything else we could do.
Yeah.
But yeah, that book really resonated with me, and it just shifted up the communication because it just came clear. I was like, oh, let's talk about a story. That makes so
Yeah.
much sense.
And if you take that story from Story Brand and you combine it with like Simon Sinek's why, you really win a lot, right? Like if you
Yes.
know your why and you can clearly communicate it and tell it as a story, those two are like probably the two most powerful combinations of messaging and marketing, in my opinion.
I love it. I love it.
You've
Yeah.
seen that, right? Simon Sinek,
Mhm. Absolutely.
he talks about like
Absolutely.
the difference between Microsoft and Apple,
Mhm.
and how like, you know, he went to visit Microsoft and they were so consumed with what Apple was doing. They were like, oh, you know, what was that? When you had your meeting with Apple, what did you do this, and trying to get like information, right? And then we went to Apple, they were talking about vision and all the ideas they had and, you know, all this stuff, and didn't even bring up Microsoft. And he's like, the difference is that Microsoft doesn't know their why. They're just chasing whatever. And Apple understands their why. Like, why are they doing what they're doing? And that eliminates the need for like competition. You're basically your own competition at that point. You're not in competition with anybody else. So I just always thought that was really cool. And then with Story Brand, he said something in that book that really stood out to me. And I was guilty of doing it myself. And I still am guilty sometimes, especially in social media posts. But um, talks about like how businesses are really good at making ourselves the hero of someone else's day. Right. And he talks
Yeah.
about how the customer's the hero and we're like the assistant. We're here to like, you're a mom, you got kids, you know, you're trying to run out at the beginning of the morning and your door doesn't open. I'm not the hero. I'm not, right? You got bigger things going on than your garage door. I'm here to try to make sure that you can accomplish all the things in your world, taking care of getting the kids to school, you know, going to work, doing this, doing that. And you're the hero of the story. I'm just here to make sure you can continue being the hero. And that was like, holy cow. Yes, that is true, because I get so annoyed when I listen to advertisements where the company makes it all about them and that's all they talk about. It's just annoying.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That is such a fundamental paradigm shift. And I agree with you. Like that is the essence of nobody needs to read that book anymore because if they just heard that, that is it.
Yeah.
You know, and
Sorry,
it's
I
like
spoiled
the
it alert.
old, yeah, it's the old picks and axes kind of analogy. Like we're in mining town, Colorado, and you know, I think the guys that did really well back in the 1800s were the ones selling the picks and axes. Like, here's the tools for you to go be your own hero, kind of deal.
Yeah.
And when I read that and locked that in, I was like, yeah, this is it. Because now, you know, in training our technicians to show up, it is important to gain that rapport, because in that rapport, we're really understanding who that customer is, what makes them tick, what their problems, what their anxieties, what their concerns or fears or excitements, and get to know them, because then that can offer that solution to where it's like, I'm just a guide. I've got picks and axes. What do you need
Yeah.
for fulfilling yourself?
So it's funny that we landed here because I just made the connection, Tamara, that we're having a very similar conversation of brand and culture that we had with Christy.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Doesn't it
uh,
feel similar?
yeah.
I feel
His,
like if you're going to have a good culture, like culture becomes your brand and then
mhm.
your brand like casts it into the world. But you really can't have a good brand without a good culture, I think. Maybe you can. Maybe like I
I
mean, I
think
don't.
it's all part of the cohesive message, and that when that gets confused, if you have a great culture but you don't have a really good brand, or you have a really strong brand but you have a really weak culture, that's where you see kind of a disconnect. And having, I mean, making those things one cohesive unit, I think is where we can find a lot of success.
I agree. Hey, Matt, do you ever find yourself like feeling really good about your culture and then something bad happens and you're like, maybe it's not as good as you thought? Like, do you ever have those moments and you're like, crap, how did I not see that coming?
The answer is yes. I think they happen all the time. Sometimes they're just inside my own perception, and sometimes maybe they go beyond and are actually more real world. I mean, what would be an example? Because I can think of, where we misdeliver on a service or product. But then I also look at that like, okay, that really sucks. We really messed up. And like, what does the brand Kooler do?
Yeah.
And so it's just another opportunity to strengthen and show up behind any kind of mishap there.
It's a constant work. Like
It is.
culture, like creating an amazing culture in a business does not done by mistake.
No, it's not, and it's constant. I was going to just bring up, the piece that I think might be even more relative is, culture is about how we interact with each other. And so if I have an employee or teammate, maybe it's an off day, maybe it's whatever, maybe they're not a great fit, and they are acting in a way that is not aligned with the brand. Well, it's my job as a leader to protect the brand, to lead the brand, to live the brand. So there's a lot of accountability on myself. Yeah. And my learning and some of the things that I've really been challenged with is not tolerating actions, behaviors, comments that are outside of it. And in the past, I have tolerated that, and that's gone into some painful moments and conversations. But the quicker I can hold the line on that, the better. And it is just very consistently showing up.
Nice. So give me an example of like one big challenge that you took on that you felt like created the most positive impact on your culture.
Putting together what I used to call bureaucracy. I started out being very anti standard operating procedures or manuals.
Yeah.
And I literally have tried this multiple times. And what I would do is I'd be like, okay, my bad. We need this in place so that we know how to run. And I would say, here it is. And then I'd turn around and I'd walk away from it and never look at it again. And so my guys do the same thing. This was more so when I was trying to run essentially two companies, because I grew a painting company decent size along with a door company for a minute. And I could only have a capacity. So I was watching one or the other. And these fires would keep erupting. And I was like, what? Forget about it. Until I was stressed out again. So, this literally happened. I'll give a shout out to Al and Seven Powers, and I just did a little testimonial for him because I took that on in November, and that's heavy lifting. That's really anchoring in to this is how we're going to do things, and not only just stating that, but training on that. And training isn't just reading the manual once; it's coming back to it every week. It's going out to the vehicles to look, to inspect, to follow up on the job. And to have those conversations, just not tolerating something that's outside of it. Yeah. So it's not easy. I have the analogy all the time. I've got a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old kid in my house, and there's so many similarities. I mean, it's just humans, right? Like all adults are. We're just grown kids that have less hair or facial hair. Like
Timber can attest to that. I act like I'm 12 most of the time. So
yeah, me too. So yeah, it's just this constant piece, right? And that's created a different version of Matt. The Matt that runs Kooler today is wildly different than Matt that ran it 6 months ago, much less 2 years ago. Like that dude wouldn't know what to do with today.
So it sounds like your biggest challenge that you overcame was you stopped leading people the way that you appreciated being led, and you started leading people in a way that gave understanding and direction commonly across the board. And then people felt more comfortable because they knew what their job and their responsibilities were, and that made it a better workplace.
I think that's a great summary.
That was my
Yeah.
summary. I actually just told you my story. And the reason why I did that is because we are the same freaking person, dude. I'm
Very
telling
bizarre.
you, isn't it
My
weird?
It's weird.
So
my
when my
mantra-
old employer, literally everybody used to complain because he would cut me loose and let me do my thing. I'm probably going to bring him on the show because he's such a freaking great guy and he's got some cool stories. But I had free reign, like to do whatever. And I built a crazy good sales team, and like we had fun, and I did some things that he would slap my hand on, but he would still let me do my thing. And that's who I am, right? Like you don't need to give me direction. I figure it out, and I figure it out fast, and I do it well, and then I keep getting better at it because I just dig until I get to the best of what I can accomplish. And then when I started hiring people for my business, I hired and told them what I wanted them to do, and then expected it to never have to be talked about again. But in reality, that's not how everybody's brain works, right? And what happens is that kind of changes in their brain over time. And then a new guy starts, and you're like, hey, will you train the new guy? Heck yeah, I will. And then he trains the new guy different, slightly, but different, right? And then the new guy trains somebody. And next thing you know, nobody's following the process that you have in your head. So then you have to go, like when Josh started, he's like, bro, all right, so where's your SOPs? And I'm like, you mean like a document? I was like, I could tell you what the process is. And then I was telling him, I was like, oh no, wait, we actually changed that part because of this. So it's now this. And he's like, bro,
Yeah.
he's like, you can't run a business this size and not have documented processes. So it took a little while, but we went through the process of like getting that figured out. We still got a long way to go, but I think you and I think a lot alike. We probably lead a lot alike. We're not micromanagers. Like we're just going to give it to you and let you run with it. And then when you mess up, we'll slap you, like, hey, encourage you and be like, hey, do you see it? Yeah, I see it. Okay, cool. Go get it. And that works for some people, but just not all, not all people.
That's right. That's right.
So,
Totally agree.
dude, you're awesome. I am definitely coming out. I may even bring Josh with me, and maybe even my warehouse guy. He's asking for like more responsibility, and he's kind of like apparently got some carpenter skills that I was unaware of. I'm a visionary, so sounds like you are too. And we have like our 2022 kickoff meeting. We did that a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about some of the other things that we're thinking about getting into. And he's like, and I'm like, yeah. He's like, I have experience in that. And I'm like, what? I'm like, that is awesome, bro. So I didn't know, now I got this guy already working for me who has experience in a field that I'm thinking about getting into. So, that's why transparency is so cool, because, you share your vision with your team, and then you find out somebody's got a skill set that you didn't even know they had that might end up being like even a better return on investment than what they're doing now. And they may be happier doing it. So anyway.
That's awesome. That's
So
awesome.
start getting the helicopter ready is what he's saying.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll work on that.
Okay.
What videos do you want to see next? What should we produce over here?
Well, I would just want to learn how you do it. I think it would be cool to see a video like how you build the door. I think that would be cool. Like, not to be like super selfish, but maybe like a step by step.
Ryan wants a tutorial.
Yeah, I mean, just go ahead and hook up the tutorial. No, I mean, like out there, it's really popular to do like the naughty wood look.
Yeah.
I think I would love, do the metal on metal.
Yeah.
Let's try that. I think that would be
Right.
cool. Like the R&D on the metal on metal, because you were talking about the metal overlay.
Yep. Yep.
The wrapped versus just surface.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a difference? And
There is.
yeah, talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why it's
Big
more
difference.
beneficial to have it wrapped than just on the surface.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then you could get into doing glass overlay, like the Sterling.
What? Glass overlay?
Yeah. Have you seen the Sterling?
No. Noted
Check out-
so.
Check out CHI Sterling. Listen, here's the thing. What had happened was, these doors are super expensive, like really expensive, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's genuinely tinted glass, like maybe like I think it's 1/8 thick tinted dark glass with adhesive to a flush panel door.
Hmm.
And they charge a lot. So, and it's sexy. It's I call them frameless glass or infinity glass doors.
Looks so nice.
Wayne Dalton makes one and
Gotcha.
CHI makes one. Those are the
Yeah,
ones I've
yeah.
seen. You know what I'm talking about now?
I do. Yeah, I've seen them.
You can make that, right?
I think so. I mean, why not?
See,
Yeah.
tenacious.
I'm gonna look into it. Yeah,
That's
I'm gonna look
tenacity.
into it. That's right.
Well, figure it out, and then I'll come out right after that. No, I'm just kidding.
Sounds good.
Um,
Sounds good.
But yeah, you like that. So we do a lot of glass here because Atlanta's got like little pockets of different types of modern homes in the area, and so you have like contemporary, mid-century, farmhouse. Now, like the cottage modern is becoming a thing here. And so like a lot of people also like that industrial glass door where they're cutting out holes in their basements, or they like the indoor outdoor living space. But I love the frameless glass. The only problem, like I installed 3 of them on a guy's house one time, and I called him shortly after. And I'm like, "Hey, dude, how's it going? You enjoying your doors?" And blah, blah, blah. He's like, "Man, I love them." He said, "I've got one problem." I said, "What?" He goes, "I'll leave for the day and I'll come back and there'll be like 2 dead birds on the ground in front of my doors." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, dude, they don't see the glass and they slam into it and it breaks their neck." And I'm like, wow. So he put these, apparently did some research, and there's like stickers. They're like just like they're almost transparent, but not quite. He stuck them in the middle all the way across, and you can see them, which sucks. But he's like, I just felt bad because I'm cleaning up birds every day. And so
Crazy.
they look like a mirror. I mean, you just can't tell. But beside that, I mean, Pete is probably going to come down. I mean, I love the doors. And we've installed quite a few. And so they look great and they're beautiful. I'm just so vain because I don't care about the birds.
Bougie.
I love the innovative stuff that's in the industry, and
Me too.
keep that kind of
It's
stuff
exciting.
going,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, bro. Well, listen, you're awesome. I'll see you in GDU, and I'm going to reach out to you to come up with a time. I know it's like really beautiful there, like towards the end of April and May.
It can be the summertime. Summers are really the secret. Like July.
Yeah, I was gonna say July,
yeah.
August.
July sucks here, bro.
Yeah.
July and August, I'll look for any reason to get out of here.
Yeah, it's like really gets the 80s here.
Mhm.
Beautiful flowers, rivers are flowing. July is like the time.
The magic month.
Maybe I can bring my wife.
And we only get 4 weeks. So, I mean, that's true.
Well, July here, it's like 98 to 105, and like when you go outside, you
Humid.
immediately feel like you need to take a shower because
Mhm.
it's like humid and all the girls are complaining about their hair. So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get
Good
that
times.
planned. Listen, thank you so much, Matt. Kooler Homes. It was Kooler Homes. Now it's Kooler Garage Doors. And check out his new website, coolergaragedoors.com. And listen, give a break if you find something on there that's not perfect. It's a brand new website. They're working on it. And
Tell me about it.
yeah, just let them know, and don't be critical. I didn't build it, unfortunately. There was somebody else he hired. Who'd you hire for that? Was that the Dan and Antonella?
No, they're coming with our rebrand, but I had a local guy
Nice. You
put
did a
that
good job.
together here. Yeah. Little
Yeah,
garage door
awesome.
trade in that mix.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love trade.
Yep.
Thank you for taking the time to come on the show and share your look on company culture, and some of the things that you've done. And then also appreciate like the chat about the overlay and the like a lot of selfish information I was trying to pull out of you. Let's schedule a podcast, talk about culture, and then I'll try to see if I can get some information about overlays. No, just kidding. Kind of. Listen, be safe, have fun, keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate all your help and like the social media, because I love your perspective. And I don't have to post a lot because you pretty much say exactly what I would say. So it's great.
Right on, man.
Have a good day, bro. It was nice hanging out with you and getting to know you better.
Yeah, ditto, man. I appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.
See you, bro.